Ann Baldwin, thank you so much for coming on. You and I were on the streets together as reporters 100 years ago. You
well, not that many.
Well, a long time ago.
Yes.
You worked for Channel 30 as an anchor reporter. And we've been talking because we're friends, and you said to me, and I said to you, I think you've got a great story to tell. And so that's why you're sitting at the table right here. Let's talk about alcoholism and how it affected your life, how you lived through it, how your family lived through it, how you came out on the other end and saw the light. It's my hope that somebody hears this, sees this, and says, that's me, I'm headed in the wrong direction, or I just got help from Ann Baldwin. So let's start at the beginning. And we've got a couple of pictures, and there's one picture that we have, if we can get this up on the screen, of you right here, of you and your siblings and your mom.
Right.
Talk about this time in your life. What was going on there?
Sure. Well, let me just start by saying too, Ann, I want to, first of all, thank you for allowing me to tell my story and allowing me to put a voice and a face, more importantly, on recovery, because that's really important to me. I want to be here, like you said, as an example to people. As you look at my family, my siblings growing up, as you can see, if you can tell the one, you know, there, the older one on the left, that is me, the older of three younger siblings, and really kind of the mother-father figure because my parents were both working all the time. So it was up to me, with 4 years difference in between myself and my next sister, it was up to me to really take care of the kids and make sure that they got fed and that the house was clean. So I took on those responsibilities.
And why did you take on those roles? Because mom was in trouble?
Mom wasn't in trouble. Mom was working. Mom
was Dad in trouble?
Dad was out drinking beer and working. So for me, my alcoholism comes from my father. It runs in my family. My father's an alcoholic, my grandfather was an alcoholic, and I'm an alcoholic. And so at a very young age, I took on a lot of responsibilities, and I saw that my father as my role model, and that was okay, that there was, you know, liquor consumed all hours of the day. In his defense, he was a great dad, but he drank too much and he drank a lot. Thus the reason there was a lot of dysfunction in my parents' relationship, and finally it ended when I was in college. So do I blame any of that on why I'm here today and why I'm here in front of you saying, hey, I'm an alcoholic too? No, I don't blame it on anything.
What do those words mean to you? When you say to somebody, I am an alcoholic, and do you remember the first time you said that?
It's hard to say, and that, and frankly, is a problem for a lot of people, and the barrier between getting help. The first thing is, if you do have a problem with drugs or alcohol, you have to want to get help. And you have to admit that you are an alcoholic. So for me to admit that really is when my journey began, because...
Let's start at the beginning.
Okay.
What started to happen? You had a father who was drinking a lot, inappropriately, through daytime, it was all over the house. When you have two children, did it happen in a marriage? After your divorce? When did this happen?
As I look back, and you know, I've had a lot of time to think about this. I've gone through a lot of therapy, and I'm still very involved today in a 12-step program. So I think about this a lot. I believe that at a very young age, I had the disease of alcoholism, because it wasn't that I drank frequently, but when I drank, I didn't have a shut-off valve. That probably started in high school, maybe even junior high. Junior high, high school, college, but I was also a very high-functioning individual because I had to be. I had to, you know, raising my siblings, then going to my adult life, putting myself through college, then onto my career. So I was very functional. And you know, when I was a news anchor, was I drinking? Was I drunk on the set? No, I'm sorry, that's not one of the stories I'm here to tell. But when I did start to drink, it just got to the point where it got progressively worse and worse. And it probably wasn't until about, you know, as I sit here today, and now I've been in recovery for 3 years, 3 months, it got bad probably 2 years prior to that, where it was disastrous. I was dying.
No, that's not lost on me either, that you were dying, and you were told that. When did it start spiraling out of control? What was going on?
What was going on was that my body had gotten to such a point that I had to have it, because the physical withdrawals of alcohol in my case were just debilitating. If I stopped, I would get physically sick. I wasn't eating anymore because I was just drinking. So it got to the point where, you know, I owned my own business, and my staff was seeing a problem. My family was starting to see a problem. Mom wasn't always right on the other end of the phone, as my daughter and my son were both away at college. I was one of those, I thought, closet drinkers. I didn't go to a bar and sit on a stool and get stupid drunk. I hid it. I drank at home.
Where did you hide it? Where did you put it in your house?
Oh my gosh. You could probably ask my family, they could answer that question better.
Did it go into closets? Did it go in the garage,
no.
under a mattress?
I
Where
was a
did you
little
put
more
it?
creative than that, Ann. I mean, give me some credit. Okay.
I'm about to, so tell me, where did you hide it? There must have been some shame attached to this, because now we're hiding it all over the house. I'm assuming your kids have said, knock it off, knock it off. So you had to go underground, so to speak, to hide the alcohol in the house. So where did you put it? Where did you know, I know it's here if I want it?
I wasn't ashamed at that point because I was still in denial. I still didn't want to face the fact that I had a problem. So, for example, you know, we found, like I said, I've been sober 3 years now. We've found vodka nips in the strangest places.
The little bottles.
The little bottles. You know, my son would find them in his golf bag. I found them in my Easter decorations when I was getting, you know, for the next season, when I was getting my decorations out. They were in the Christmas decorations. You know, when I went away to rehab, my family did a complete search of the entire house, from the rafters of the attic to the bowels of the basement, and they found pretty much vodka bottles everywhere.
When you think back on that, do you even remember hiding those?
No, and what's interesting too is that, you know, in discovery, you know, about a year into being sober, we actually found a full 6-pack of the vodka nips. I'm like, damn, I wish I would have remembered those were there.
So what?
And I'm not making light of this.
No,
I'm really
no,
not. But you know, at this
but,
point,
but you're laughing at yourself now
I am.
because you made it out. Some people
Barely.
don't make it
Barely.
out. You're how old when you're spiraling out of control? Are you 50? Your late 40s? Where are we in your life?
I am about 51.
Okay.
51.
When was a time where somebody said, you've got to go to rehab? Did you do it yourself? Intervention? How did this come about that somebody said, no more?
That there's two answers to that. One is, no, it wasn't myself that said, you know, I knew prior to that I had a problem that was getting bad. I remember laying in bed at night saying, God, please, can I just not drink tomorrow? Can I just not drink tomorrow? And then 2 o'clock in the morning would come and I'd start to get physically sick, and I'd pull that vodka nip from, yes, under the mattress without anybody knowing. And that was kind of my cycle. But it got to the point where I was hurting myself. I mean, I have scars from falling over. I have scars from glass breaking on my back. You know, my boyfriend at the time would find, you know, not hear from me and find me passed out in crazy places at home. And so it got to the point where, yes, I had, just like you see on TV, it was a real life intervention. And it wasn't here in Connecticut. It was my family knowing enough that they had to get me out of my environment. So one day I come home from work after drinking about 4 nips on my way home.
Drinking and driving.
Drinking and driving.
Yep.
And to see everybody, just like you see on TV, sitting around my family room with some strange guy. I'm like, who's that? Who are you? What are you all doing here? With their letters that they read to me, asking me, begging me to get help.
Did you care?
I don't remember. I don't remember if I cared, but as I looked into the eyes of the people that read those letters, my family, my loved ones, that did care enough about me, that knew and were told that, you know, I mean, where I went was very expensive. But if you average it out, it's about the same as the cost of a funeral. So which would you rather be paying for?
Who said to you, you're going to die if you don't get this under control?
Well, I found myself in the psych ward of the hospital twice in St. Francis. My liver was shutting down. My skin was yellow, so weren't the white of my eyes. I was down to about 98 pounds. And my hair, I would go like this and my hair would just fall out in clumps. Just big clumps of hair would come out. So if I didn't know it myself, I really didn't have to be told that I was dying.
Were there ever times when you looked in the mirror when you were drinking and said, I have to stop this? Did you ever do that?
Oh yeah, almost every day. almost every day. I'm like, what are you doing to yourself? What are you doing to your family? What, you know, and it's the harm that you do to the people around you.
What kind of harm did you do to them?
Oh, I don't even know. I mean, I'm still making amends today. I'm still rebuilding relationships. I'm still rebuilding trust because it was really a train wreck in the end. But I'm so grateful that those people came to support me and to say, look, Mom, you need to go. Look, my dear, I'm going to throw you in the shower right now. And guess what? Your bags are packed and you're on your way to Utah for at least a month. So, and I was fortunate too to have a detox component to that. So I didn't have to experience the ugly, ugly physical withdrawals of alcohol. It was a very managed program. And there I was under, you know, in a beautiful facility, but on lockdown, no cell phone, no computer. You know me well enough, Ann, to know that
Type
was
A.
type A. That was the hardest thing I've ever done.
You were lucky because a lot of people don't have it that nice. You brought this with you. This is from your daughter, and it's ripped because you said you were angry. When did she write this to you, and what was she trying to say to you?
Well, this was prior to the intervention, where she was away at college, and it really started to get bad for her, you know, and what a distraction, you know. Here you're so proud of your mother in so many ways because she was proud of the fact that I've always, you know, I ran the household, I supported these kids on my own, single mother, I think it's pretty safe to say that, but she could see me spiraling down. She could see
Well,
it.
she was worried. She was away from you,
Yeah.
and she didn't know what she was going to find.
Right.
Just read a little bit of that.
Mom, all right, I'm sorry I can't do this anymore. You're very sick and you need real help. I'm 19 years old, working 30 plus hours a week, trying to get an education. No 19-year-old can take that on, plus be responsible for an alcoholic. It breaks my heart to see you like this. I used to say that I wanted to be just like you. You were a role model all my life, but now I'm not so sure. I don't know the person that you become. I don't want this for myself. You continually blame everyone else, but the harsh reality is that you have a drug addiction, and not only is this killing you, but it's killing me as well, and everyone who genuinely loves you.
Go on.
Every night and day I pray for you. I pray that God will reach into your life and help you. I pray that I have my mom back, the caring, inspiring, kind, warm-hearted woman that would light up a room. The moment that you walked in the door, somewhere along the road, I lost her. I feel so helpless. I have no one to turn to who understands. I have no one to talk to. I've been through so much in the past 3 years. You haven't been there for any of it. I appreciate the fact that you provide for me, but I can't even ask you to do that anymore. If I'm any part of the reason that you're like this, I'll make it easy. I'll take over my car payments. I'll find a place to stay until you get help. I won't be around. I can't support this lifestyle anymore. I can't be any part of it anymore. I haven't called Dad or anyone, so don't panic. I love you. You're so much better than this, and all I want for you is to get help so I can have my mom back. Love, Ashley.
You ripped it up at some point.
I did.
Why?
I guess I wasn't ready to hear it, you know, and you and I talked prior to the segment. You asked me, you know, how did these words, what did they mean to you when you read those intervention letters? And I didn't remember them, a lot of the words, until I go back and I read this. And it's not that I'm not emotional. It's not that I'm proud of where I come from, but I have to go back and remind myself and look in the mirror every day and say, Ann, this is where you came from. This is the way other people looked at you. This is what you were. And I'm just so grateful now that I can look back on this and I can read these and I can show emotion because it's emotional. At the time, I was so messed up. I had no emotion. I was just I don't know what I was. I was a shell. I was a walking shell.
You go to, intervention happens. You go to rehab. Did it work?
Did it work? You know, it was, I guess I compare it to, although I've never experienced this, getting thrown in prison. I wasn't sure. You know, I'm like, what am I going to do? I felt like a caged animal.
So you're out in Utah.
I'm out in Utah, and I want out in the worst way. But I'm like, look, I am here for 28 days. So I'm pretty much stuck here. And with my intervention, again, my office staff, because I run my own public relations business, they were in on the intervention. They knew that they were going to need to hold down the fort for at least a month, and they did that. So it was a very holistic, I went to Journey Center out in Utah. It was a very holistic approach. And I've never been exposed to that either. you know, and they were so frustrated with me when I got there because it's all here for me. Everything that I do is in my head, and they're like, do you have a heart? You need to go to your heart at some point. And I didn't have, when they talked to me, there was a lot of therapy involved. And they're like, well, we haven't broken you yet. You haven't started crying. You know, what was your big trigger in life, or what happened? What kind of trauma did you experience as a child? I didn't have any of that. I had a great childhood from my perspective. I don't know what triggered me. Yes, I had a bad marriage. Yes, I had a bad business partnership. Yes, I've hit a lot of brick walls, but I've always known to bounce off that wall, pick yourself back up, and go.
But you said yourself it's a sickness.
It's a disease for me.
It's a disease
It's
for
a
you.
disease. Alcoholism for me is a disease, and I am an alcoholic. What I can proudly say now is I'm an alcoholic in long-term recovery. 3 years, 3 months, I have that honor of saying that I'm in recovery. And I have the experience, and I have the voice and the face that can now go with this. I mean, am I proud of this? Am I doing this because I want people to see Ann Baldwin again? No, I'm doing this because I want people to know that Ann Baldwin's an alcoholic, and if Ann Baldwin can do this, you can do it. I don't care who you are, where you work, what you do, because the other misconception, Ann, is that, you know what, people who drink and drug are a bunch of bums. They have nothing better to do. And I will tell you, that's not the truth. Some of the smartest, brightest, most beautiful people I've met in the program. And some of the best tools I have now that help me cope with my life and my business every day are what I've learned in the program. You know what you can do? You can take this bad stuff that's happened to you, and you can make it take you down further, or you can take it and you can have you hold it up. I think that's a problem sometimes with people today. You know, they're like,
Well, it's
all
not a
this
problem
crap
with
is
you because you figured it out. But what was it that you said, I gotta stop, I'm rock bottom. I'm rock bottom now. What was it?
I see, and that's one of those terms that I frankly have a problem with. What's rock bottom? My rock bottom may not be your rock bottom. Why the hell does everybody say, I gotta hit rock bottom before I stop?
So what was it? Why did you want to
I
help
didn't hit
yourself?
rock bottom. Well, okay, but I didn't lose my house. I didn't lose my kids. I didn't lose my business.
Yeah.
So really, I didn't hit rock
Were you
bottom.
losing relationships?
Oh yeah. Well, what happened was I came back from rehab, and I was good for a month. I was going to my program. They, you know, I told them they're like, recovery is the most important part. You know, going and getting medical help and staying locked up for 28 days, pretty much anybody can stay sober because you don't have an option. But what do you do when you get back out? When you go to your old environment, when you're around your old friends, when you are around the old triggers or whatever it might be, when you're driving by the same liquor stores, you know, what do you do then? And I, of course, you know, oh yeah, I've got my program all figured out. So I get back home, I'm sober a month. My daughter tells me, Mom, guess what? I'm pregnant, 21 years old. All right? I didn't handle that well. I wasn't upset with her, but I thought, this is a great reason for me to drink again. So when they tell you too that when you go back out from being in recovery that you go down 5 times as hard as you did in the first place, I went blacked out, boom, that was it. And then Bill, my boyfriend at the time, said, you know what, Ann, I've been here for you this whole entire time. I've supported you. I came and visited you in Utah with your mother. I've been nothing but supported, but I can't do this anymore. And then I said, I'm losing something now. So I myself, after 2 days on the binge again, got back on that horse, and I have never gotten back off because I was going to lose that relationship, and that relationship meant everything to me.
We have a picture of Bill, who happens to work for Channel 8, who's on the studio crew here, and a photographer. This is
There
Bill.
he is.
So he helped you find a new life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We also have another picture of you as a grandmother because
Yes.
your daughter gave birth
She
to a beautiful baby.
Yeah, there she is, Taylor.
When you look at this picture, are you well in that picture?
I am so well. I am so grateful to say that all during my daughter's pregnancy, and since I have not picked up a drink since then. My granddaughter, who's now 2.5 years old, knows nothing but a wonderful, sober grandmother. We have so much fun. I'm so grateful to have that in my life. But my daughter said to me, Mom, you know, this is another reason for you to stay on the straight and narrow, and she's absolutely right.
Do you worry you might fall off?
Do I worry about it? You know,
Are there triggers when you go to social events?
No. You know, I'm fortunate that in my recovery, I can still be around, you know, parties. I can go to receptions. I still do that. I don't look at a bottle and obsess about it. So, you know, are there triggers? You know, what's interesting? I work very closely with CCAR, the Connecticut Community for Addiction Recovery, and the executive director, Phil Valentine, and I actually do a radio show together called Voices of Recovery Radio. And he's really great because, you know, he'll go, how you doing today? And I'm always pumped up and I'm like, you know, business is great, work is good. And this is where he says, be careful. Because, you know, a lot of people go back out and relapse, not because of the triggers, not because, and this happened, my dog died, I didn't drink over it, but because of the successes and the happiness and getting overjoyed maybe too much to keep yourself grounded. So I still work a very active program. I'm very open and honest.
And you're a recovery coach now because you came out at the other end, so now you're helping other people. What is it like on that end, being a coach?
My number one premise for that is you've got to want it. You've got to want sobriety yourself. So it's very gratifying, but it's also very frustrating because if that person that you're trying to help doesn't want it, then you're not there at the right time. But if you can keep somebody from doing a drink or a drug for one day, that's great. You know, Ann, you asked me the question earlier, do you ever worry about going back out? I'm in a program where I can sit next to somebody who's been sober 20 years and relapses again. There are people in the program that, I mean, I myself had about, 5 24-hour chips. You know, I went and got my chip because, yep, there's one day I stayed sober, one day, you know. So those piled up, but now I'm, you know, again, I've moved on and I've moved beyond that. So you never take your sobriety for granted. I don't. At least I don't. I can only speak to my sobriety. It's a priority. It's been life-changing, and it's all for the better. I am truly grateful for the pain that I went through and for the path that I'm on now. My life wouldn't be as full, and I wouldn't truly be as you know, as full of life as I am today had I not almost lost it to alcoholism.
At the heart of your drinking, how much were you drinking a day?
I don't know. I really don't know. I lost track. I would probably spend about $30, $40 a day on alcohol. I don't know. I really kind of lost track. You know, I was just going by those little 6-packs, and it was funny because I would go to 3 or 4 different liquor stores throughout the course of a couple of days, so they didn't think I had a problem. Because, you know, Dad's in a nursing home and he can't drink there, so I sneak in his little nips for him.
So you make up stories.
You make up stories. And these people, I mean, to one guy, I had a kid and I brought him a baby gift. I knew him so well because I was there all the time. You know, that's just how sick it gets. It really, really does. But the good news is, and I think where people really need to focus more is on the recovery component of this. And speak to somebody if you think they have a problem without blame or judgment. You know what?
I think people are afraid to get involved. I think they don't want to sever friendships. I'm not going to say anything. I know it's bad. This isn't good. Be afraid to sever a friendship. You might wake somebody up.
Yeah, and I asked my friends that after I got back from recovery. I mean, did you think I had a problem? So many would say, no, we never knew you really had a problem. Again, I was drinking alone in my home a lot of the time. But other were like, yeah, but we were, exactly what we said, we were afraid to say something because when you started and you didn't stop to the point of falling down and having to be carried out of places, I mean, that's not appealing, is it? Why didn't you guys say anything to me? And again, because of my strong personality, they feared that that might end the relationship.
Or save a life.
Or save a life.
Ann, you have such a message for people.
I hope so.
Be well, stay well. You look terrific. You have a great relationship. You're a grandmother. And thanks for helping other people too find their way.
Thanks for the forum to get the word out there, Ann. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
I want to hug you.